Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, dear students and dear learners, welcome all of you in today's lecture. So let's start. Today's competency is writing lecture number 5B, and this is the last lecture of Unit 10. So we have reached at the SLO. You are very well aware what is the importance of SLO and what is the proper understanding of the SLO. Write a poem narrating an event. So it is very interesting SLO. Dear learners, this is very interesting SLO as I have already explained, in which we are combining two genres, two fields in one thing. So, once again, look at the wording of the SLO. Write a poem. Basically, mainly this SLO is describing write a poem, but how? Narrating an event. And even related writing is called paragraph writing. It means that we are converting all the important events into a poem writing. So this is the SLO. Now look at reach at the vertical linkage. This SLO was in class 6 in this form. Write a poem describing objects or places. Now in class 7 we have increased and we have reached at next point. We converted these objects or places into what events. Now this is brainstorming. A narrative poem is like a little movie. Yes, poem should be like a little movie, then it will be called as narrative poem. In words, yes, little movie in words. It shows what happened in an event. And the next one, the parts of a poem, a narrative poem, are actions, feelings, and details are used to help the reader see the story in the poem. So it means that the poem should have a story, and the poem is written in the poem style, but there should be unfolding a story as well in the form of poem. So, next slide. Narrative writing and narrative poetry. What is narrative poetry? Look at this. Narrative writing. Narrative writing is writing that tells a story. All the writings which telling us about the story, that is called narrative writing. It talks about how things happen. Yes, definitely. It has a beginning, middle, and end. These are the three parts of any narrative story. It can describe real events or imaginary events. Yes, it can describe real events or imaginary events. Both events can be described in narrative writing. Narrative writing helps us, the reader, to see, feel, and understand the story clearly. So, dear learner, this is all about narrative writing. Now, move to the next slide. Now, after understanding about narrative writing, we have reached at this point that what is narrative poetry? Narrative poetry is a poem that tells us a story or an event. It means that a poem in which a story automatically is exposing itself. So it is written in short lines, not paragraphs. Yes, it is written in short lines like the poem, not in paragraphs like the story. It shows what happened in the event. The event which is describing in the poem, it tells what happened. So it means that the action of the event is described in the poem. It includes the event. Even mean what happened. It means the whole action. So this type of poetry is called narrative poetry. So dear students, I hope you have understood about this particular topic, what is narrative poetry. Now move to the next point. Yes, narrative poetry, second point. Narrative poetry is a poem that tells us a story or an event. Now, what are the main points which make the poetry as narrative poetry? First of all, actions. What people did. Yes, what people did in that event. Sensory details. Yes, all the details which touches our senses. What we saw, heard, or felt. Yes, if poem is describing what we saw, what we heard, or what we felt, that is called narrative poetry. Feelings, yes, there will be feeling, how the people felt. Narrative poems seem like a story but look like a poem. Yes, this is a very important point. Yes, the poem which look like a poem, but it is in other way it is a story. This is called narrative poetry. Now move to the next point. Yes, narrative poems include what thing can be included in a narrative poetry, and if these points are there in any poem, that will be called as narrative poetry. Yes, the event. First of all, narrative poem or narrative poetry must have an event, the main happening, the action, right? There should be the main happening. There should be a main event. For example, sports day, rainy day, birthday, right? There should be an event behind the narrative poem. Then actions. If there is an event, an event comes in true form when there are some actions, the movements or activities like running, shouting, laughing, raining. These are the activities. These are the actions which are included in narrative poetry. Sensory details. Let's see in the next slide what is sensory details. Yes, what you saw, dark clouds, bright lights. These are touching or watching senses. Yes, what you heard, cheering, thunder. This is our oral sense. Yes, what you felt, cold, rain, warm, sun. These are all sensory points of view. Feelings, happy, excited, scared, surprised, proud, and then ending, how the event finished. These are the all points. So dear students, these are the all points which make the poem as narrative poem. And if anyone, one or two or three points are missing, that will not be a complete narrative poem. Now move to the next point. Yes, structure for writing a narrative poem. This is the simple structure to write narrative poem. Yes, this is the structure. First of all, we have already discussed this point. Event introduction. Yes, there should be an event and then introduce that event properly. How? Start by telling what event you are writing about. It means that you must have a topic. You have to tell about the topic. You have to tell what the action is, what the event was there, and you are going to write on in that. Example, it was sports day at our school. On this particular event, you are going to write a poem. Yes. Now look at the next point. Yes, this is the simple structure to write narrative poem. First of all, we have discussed the title, topic, and then actions or description. There should be an action or description. Right. What happened in the beginning and middle? For example, students ran fast, teachers cheered loudly. It means starting, middle, and ending. The next point, structure. We are discussing structure. This is the simple structure to write narrative poem. Third one, feelings. Feelings, sensory details. Feelings or sensory details. Or sensory details are pretty much very close to our feelings. Add what you saw, heard, and felt. Example, the sun was warm. My heart was beating fast. So these are the points which make the poem as narrative poem. Next one, closing line. Yes, there should be an ending, right? End by telling how the event finished. Yes, it is must. Example, at last we smiled as our team won. This is finishing line, this is ending line. So dear students, we have discussed all the major or the main points which are very important for writing a narrative poem or poetry. Now let's move to the next slide. Narrative poem. As we discussed in the previous lecture yesterday, that narrative paragraph has some points, has a structure points or structural points. Now narrative poem has also structural points which have we have discussed now, very now. After combining all those structural points, we have created a narrative poem that is in front of you and you are looking at the board, that poem. And we have selected the topic Sports Day Surprise. Yes, it is very important because it is telling about the main event about which we are going to write the poem. It was Sports Day at our school. This is small line. This is not a paragraph line. Yes, everyone stood in one straight line. Yes, this is a poem style. Children ran fast across the ground. Teachers cheered with happy voice. I felt the warm sun on my face. Now, sensory and feeling are have been started here in this part of the poem. My heart beat loudly with excitement. This is also the part of that point. At last, this is ending point. Our team won the race and joy filled the whole playground. So, dear learners, this is very, very easy how we can read any narrative poem. The first thing which we required, that is an event, an action of that event, and there should be a starting point, there should be beginning, there should be middle, and there should be ending. By combining all these points, we can create any narrative, we can write any narrative poem very easily that is in front of you. Like this example, you can write and after picking any topic or event. Now, move to the next slide. You have simulations there for your further enhancement of the knowledge. Yes, worksheets are also attached with PPTs. Now, these are our resources, presentation, worksheets are here, skill sheet are here, lesson plans are here, question bank is also there. So, my dear learners, this is all about our today's lesson and our today's topic. Now, I would like to say thanks a lot at the end of this lecture, and I hope you have learned a lot about the narrative poetry. So, take care of yourself till the next lecture. I hope you will take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.